My name is Choden, and together with Heather, I'm teaching on the wisdom module, and I thought to say a few words about it. Just to give some context, we start with mindfulness, and with mindfulness, we settle and stabilize the mind. And we also work with acceptance. So we learn to accept what arises in the form of thoughts and emotions. And then on the basis of this stability and acceptance, we move on to the compassion module. And acceptance is really the doorway into self-compassion, where we learn to really take care of ourselves, offer ourselves kindness, and hold our experience with warmth. And this then matures into compassion for others. And then mindfulness and compassion become the basis for the insight module, in which we learn to see and recognize the habits that rule our life. But you need the stability of mindfulness and the warmth of compassion to do that. And the key principle here is the seeing is the doing, that once we see the habits clearly, then they don't have power over us anymore. So through the insight module, we loosen the power of habitual patterning. This then sets the stage for the wisdom module, which really builds on the first three. So in the wisdom module, we now approaching the core of our being, that part of us that is always at peace, always free, always fundamentally okay. What in Buddhism is called Buddha nature. This is the key theme of the wisdom module. And once we touch this place, it makes such a difference, because even if we've had many issues, struggles, ups, downs, traumas, if we can touch that part of us that's always fundamentally okay, that then becomes our anchor, our guide, our reference point. And the wisdom module is to give us a living experience of the Buddha nature, this part that's fundamentally okay. And we do this firstly by working with imagination practices that give us a felt sense of this freedom and peace and okayness. So a bit similar to compassion, we work with some imagination practices to set the ground. And then on the basis of that, we move on to deepening insight practices. And we learn to see how our issues and struggles and worries are not solid and real like they seem. It's a bit like being in a dream, sometimes a good dream, other times a bad dream. So this is where we open the door to emptiness, shunyata, which is learning to see that everything is changing, everything is ephemeral. Things are not solid and real like they feel. This can make a big difference. Um, but the important thing is we need to practice compassion together with this, because even though our issues and struggles and worries are like being in a dream, still it hurts. And because it hurts, we need the compassion. So we balance the compassion with the emptiness in the wisdom module. And when it comes to compassion, we focus on the 6 paramitas or perfections of Buddhism, which are generosity, ethics, patience, joyful enthusiasm, meditation, wisdom. So that is one theme running through the wisdom module. So now once we have set the context with doing the imagination practices, getting a feeling of the non-solidity of things, bringing in the compassion, we then work on the practice of awareness, going more deeply with the practice of awareness. So with mindfulness, we learn to be aware of thoughts arising, and we get a sense of separation from different thoughts and worries, which is very important in the start. With the insight module, we're learning to step into open awareness, getting a feeling of awareness being like the space within which experience arises. Now, with the wisdom module, we go one step further, and we develop the practice of becoming aware of being aware. So what we're doing here is coming to know awareness directly, really becoming very familiar with this presence of awareness that is always here every moment of our lives, and learning to become curious about it. And what we see is that the presence of awareness is always okay. A bit like a mirror reflects different things, but the mirror remains unstained. Similarly, awareness is like that. We can be aware of pain, but the awareness isn't in pain. We can be aware of sadness, but the awareness is never sad. So when we start to really um, identify, recognize, come closer to awareness, we start to sense that this is where the Buddha nature is to be found, in the simple awareness of our everyday mind is the most profound thing in our life. That if we can learn to stay close to the awareness is always okay. The awareness is always free. The awareness is always at peace, no matter what else arises. So this is the trajectory of the wisdom module, which I've tried to give an overview of, quite short in quite a few words. Um, and I would say it's the real crown jewels. It's the real heart of the Mindfulness Association practice journey. So if you have a chance to do it, I would be great if you can join us in the next intake, which is December this year. And the structure is there's a retreat. So the next one will be December, quite soon. And then this will be a 6-day retreat. And then there will be 2-hour evening sessions once a month after that, in which we check in on practice. So part of it will be feedback on how practice is going, and there will also be new teaching topics introduced. And then it will conclude with a retreat next year, in this case at the end of 26. So that's the structure, which is a bit different to the other modules. So a 6-day retreat, evening sessions once a month for 2 hours, concluding with a retreat next year. So yeah, that is a short overview of the wisdom module, a journey to that part of our being that's always okay, always at peace, always free, the very heart of Buddhism in terms of Buddha nature. So I really hope you could join us, and wishing you a good day.